The Godox AD300 Pro is Godox's newest light, which offers a lot of power in such a small form factor. When the Godox AD300 Pro was announced earlier this year, I was pretty happy because Godox has a long history of coming out with great lights that aren't too expensive and offer a lot of features, and the AD300 Pro is exactly that. It offers you a lot of power in such a small lens-shaped body, and because of that combination, that power and that portability, it's currently my favorite strobe by Godox. Although I personally was happy when this light was announced, I can definitely understand how some of you out there might be wondering why it even exists when you already have stuff like the Godox AD400 Pro or the AD200 Pro. But that's actually the thing that I really like about Godox, in that they keep coming out with different options, and these options might be better suited for your specific needs. Having personally used the Godox AD600, the 400, and the 200 Pro, I can tell you from my own personal experience that the 300 Pro is currently my favorite strobe because it's exactly the amount of power that I need in still such a small form factor. There were definitely times when I would use the Godox AD600 Pro and the 400 Pro and not need all of the power that those lights offered. And although I was using those lower outputs, I was still left with a big heavy strobe. On the other side of the spectrum with the 200 Pro, although it's nice and small, there were times where I definitely need just a little bit more power, and that's where the 300 Pro comes in. I don't want this video to be too technical, so I'm going to go ahead and just throw the size and the weight of not just the 300 Pro, but the 200, 400, and the 600 Pro, because although those lights vary differently in terms of the sizes, it's at least good to know by exactly how. And for the visual people like myself, here's the 300 Pro compared right next to the 400 and the 600 Pro. I'm not sure how I could forget to include the 200 Pro in that comparison, so I'm going to show you guys them right here, side by side, because they're basically kind of similar in size, but this one is a little bit more evenly round throughout the whole thing. Well, this one is like smaller on this side, and on the flatter side it's bigger. But this one, again, it's just like a lens in this aspect. Before I continue, I just want to let you guys know that Godox and Flashpoint products are exactly the same thing. That's why they will work interchangeably, but Godox is going to be from overseas, while Adorama is based in New York, so you have better warranty and customer service. Over the past couple of years, I've been shooting portraits at night, and because of the way that I expose my photos, usually adding a lot of ambient light to my photos, I don't really need a lot of power from my strobes, often just needing the power of the modeling lamp themselves to get the proper exposure from my photos. For those unaware of what a modeling lamp is, it's just an additional light source that's built into the strobe that gives you a preview of how the light will fall on the subject. So this is not really helpful in bright sunny conditions, but it is helpful in low light and studio settings. In the past, I've used the mounting lamp on the Godox AD400 Pro to take photos at night, and although it did work pretty great, I did find for some photos that the light was a little too tungsten, so I did have to manipulate some photos to be exactly how I wanted it to be in post. And it's for that reason that when the Godox AD300 Pro was announced to have the first bicolor light in a Godox strobe, that I was really happy, but I didn't anticipate it to be a little underpowered for my needs. To give you some specific numbers, the Godox AD300 Pro's mounting lamp is 12 watts, while the Godox AD400 Pro's is 30 watts, and the Godox AD600 Pro's is 38 watts. I actually did one specific shoot to test out the mounting lamp on the 300 Pro, and I did find that the power, again, was just too weak for my needs. I had to get the light really, really close, and I only took about one shot that I was really happy with the mounting lamp, and again, it was just really close into the shot, so I had to use post to remove the light in the final result. Although my specific purposes for wanting the bicolor LED was for photos, it is pretty good for video in my opinion if you are going to add a lot of ambient to your shot. So that means using a slow shutter, a wide aperture, and a high ISO. And I do have a couple of friends who let me know that they really appreciated having the ability to change the temperature from 3000 to 6000 for their specific video needs in terms of a wedding. However, if you do plan to use the LED mounting lamp for video like what I'm doing right now, where I'm talking into a mic, keep in mind that the fans on the 300 Pro are pretty loud. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys a quick example of how loud. Yeah, you definitely don't want to use this for any sort of video where you're gonna be talking into the mic close by the light. The Godox AD300 Pro offers a lot of great features that I'm gonna go ahead and just throw on the screen right now so you guys can pause the video to check those out. But just like any Pro strobe by Godox, it offers fast flash durations and recycle time, great color accuracy, fine-tuned power control, and the ability to use the wireless ID system, which is going to be really helpful in case you shoot around other Godox users. Back in 2018, when the Godox AD400 Pro came out, a lot of us were first introduced to the new, smaller Godox mount. But since it was virtually unknown, the fact that we were all using Bowens mount modifiers at the time, and the fact that the 400 Pro came with a Bowens mount modifier, nobody ever took advantage of that new smaller Godox mount. This year, when the Godox AD300 Pro came out, Godox also came out with a couple of different modifiers that use Godox mount. So it was only until this year that we could really take advantage of the portable system on the 400 Pro and now the 300 Pro as well. My best guess is that if you're interested in the 300 Pro at all, you're definitely interested in the portability factor. So you definitely need to check out the new Godox mount modifiers. There's currently the Godox AD-S65, which is their 65 centimeter softbox, and the Godox S85, which is their 85 centimeter softbox. But if there's other ones that I don't know about, I'll list them on the bottom of the screen right now. I honestly can't emphasize enough how much smaller the Godox mount is. So I just want to show you guys a quick shot of two very similar size modifiers. One is Godox mount and the other is Bowens mount, so you guys can see exactly how small they are when compared side by side. If you have a lot of Bowens mount modifiers, but you're interested in getting the Godox AD300 Pro, but you don't want to spend more money on the Godox mount modifiers that just came out, that's totally understandable. All you would need to do is just buy the Bowens mount adapter for the 300 Pro, or buy the new S bracket, which will allow you to connect the Godox AD300 Pro and other round head flashes to Bowens mount modifiers. My personal recommendation to you would be to go ahead and just get that new S bracket, because it'll allow you to connect to Bowens mount modifiers, but won't be more of a permanent solution like that bracket is. You physically have to attach that bracket to the 300 Pro, and by doing so, you will be able to attach to Bowens mount modifiers, but it just makes it bulkier and takes up more space when you put it in something like a camera bag. If you don't intend to use Bowens mount modifiers on the 300 Pro, but just want to attach it to a light stand, it will come, of course, with an attachment that you can use to connect it to light stands. But I personally I'm not a big fan of this because of the knobs being so close and the fact that you don't have as much control as you would with the S bracket. The new S bracket not only allows you to move it up and down and connect to Bowens mount modifiers, of course, but it allows you to zoom the 300 Pro so you can push it in further to maximize the light usage, to be more efficient with the light, in other words. So that's another benefit of using the new S bracket. Of course, you do have the option of just connecting the 300 Pro to a stand using the 1/4-20 thread on the bottom of the strobe. In case you don't need to tilt it up and down, that's still another option. All you need to do is just rotate the strobe onto the light stand and you'll be good to go. Another nice improvement of the AD300 Pro is the fact that the rear screen is a little bit brighter. So that's going to be helpful in brighter conditions, but it's still not as bright as I would like it to be. You can see that the 200 Pro is much more dim and the 300 is brighter, but Godox, if you're listening, just make it brighter and brighter, because that's going to be helpful to see the power output and all that in brighter conditions. The very last thing I want to show you guys is exactly what comes inside the box when you buy it. Of course, you have the power cord. You also have that light stand attachment that I mentioned earlier that I'm not a big fan of. You also have the battery for the AD300 Pro. It's also worth mentioning that the older AD200 batteries also work with the 300 Pro, but you'll experience a little bit slower flash recycle times. You also have this thing that goes with the power cord so you can actually charge the battery. And finally, you have the Godox AD300 Pro itself. It also comes with a manual in case you want to know something technical about the light that I might have not mentioned earlier or at all. In case you're unfamiliar with the Godox strobes, it's really easy to attach modifiers onto them. All you have to do is literally just align the modifier to the mount that you're using, either Bowens or Godox, push it in, twist it clockwise, and then you're good to go. To release, all you have to do is pull back that release tab, twist it counterclockwise, and then you're good to release it. If by now you're thinking you definitely want to get a Godox AD300 Pro, I think it's worth mentioning the backpack that I personally use to carry two of them, which is Godox's newest backpack, which is the Godox CB20. They actually made this backpack for the Godox AD300 Pro, and I've been personally loving it since I got mine about 2 months ago. I put everything in there that I can think of. It's packed to the brim. The backpack is honestly really comfortable, and it's not that expensive at all. I think it's maybe $80 at the time of making this video. And there's also two straps on the sides that I need to mention, because I personally use those to hold a Manfrotto nano stand and the Godox AD-S65, which is that modifier I mentioned earlier, the 65 centimeter one, because it's small and portable. It fits right there on the side. So I've been using that strap on the side to hold that modifier. Alrighty, so that's pretty much everything I could think to talk about regarding the Godox AD300 Pro. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comment section below and I'll reply as soon as possible. And if you want to save money and learn, follow me on Instagram at FJHPhoto. I share a lot of educational content on there, as well as deals on all the Godox lights, including the Godox AD300 Pro. So follow me there, or my Facebook lighting group called Learns Light and Off-Camera Flash Lighting Community. Again, a lot of educational content and deals, so you save money and you learn, and you know, who can beat that? I have links to everything that I talked about in the description area below, so be sure to check that out in case you're curious about anything that I talked about. And with that, I'll leave you guys with some behind the scenes footage from a photo shoot that I did using the Godox AD300 Pro. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next video.
Want it easy, want it badly, but I can get what I want. Too much pressure, too much pleasure, but not much to rely on. Your love ain't free, it's killing me. I want it to end all, 'cause I've been trying, I've been waiting for so long. I'm waiting, 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 waiting. Waiting, 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 waiting. It's hard to do and it hurts to say, but if you love something, let it go. Tomorrow comes, it's another day. So if you love something, let it go. If you love something, let it go. If you love something, let it go. It's hard to do and it hurts to say, but if you love something, let it go. Tomorrow comes, it's another day. So if you love something, let it go. No, I don't mind you asking why I let you go. It's just way too much for my heartbeat, so I'm laying low. Yes, I could rethink what I'm thinking if I had control, but I don't, so don't you be asking why I love you so. Your love ain't free, it's killing me. I want it to end all, 'cause I've been trying, I've been waiting for so long.